What we're going to talk about over the next 45 minutes or so is two aspects of what we see as the possibilities for the principles, where they are now and where they could go in the future. And particularly, we're going to talk about the principles as a field, and then also the principles as an understanding, regardless of whether or not anyone's teaching them. So I wanted to begin by talking a little bit about the principles as a field and the different ways that a field evolves. And in particular, I want to reference back to this morning, because this morning, George and Mark and Chris all shared a very similar story of going back and forth between a place of not really knowing what they were doing and getting wonderful results, and thinking they had it figured out and the whole thing stopping dead. Now that, anyone who's been practicing the principles as a field for a while has that experience multiple times. And it's something that isn't unique to the principles. It's something that happens in other fields. And my own experience, like Mara said, I came from another field that when I first got into it, it was all about the promise and the potential and all the amazing things that we could do. And it became so litigious, it became so infighting, it became so unpleasant to be around. And what I've come to understand is that that was the result of a simple misunderstanding, is that people started falling in love with the forms and trying to take ownership of the forms, of the techniques, and lost the spirit. They lost sight of the formlessness out of which all those techniques came. Now, the metaphor that occurred to us when Aaron and I were watching this video is the difference between learning to listen to music, learning to hear music that's always playing in the background and continually changing, and going to dance class. Now, we culturally tend to think the important bit is dance class. So we try to find the right dance school to teach us the right way to dance. And you can look, whether it's in therapy, whether it's in coaching, whether it's in self-help, in almost any field, there are a number of great dance schools, of places where you can go to learn how to behave, to learn what to do. And by nature, when you go deeper into the forms, you get more separation, you get more conflict, you get more insecure thinking about ownership and the right way and the wrong way. You get infighting. If it carries on, it gets litigious. It becomes what happens in a lot of fields, if you look at the evolution of a lot of fields. Now, one of the things that's an interesting possibility is to contemplate what would happen if, as best we can, we really keep pointing people towards this music that's always playing in the background and let whatever dance emerges for each person. And what's interesting, the reason I love that as a metaphor for the principles is because the music changes. So you may have evolved a beautiful dance yesterday and found a way of talking about these principles or being with a client or being in relationship that was perfect yesterday, that couldn't have been better, that felt almost as if it was by design. But if you then try to replicate that same dance today when the music's changed, it's just going to look weird. You're going to find yourself out of step with what's going on. And you're not going to know why, because you're doing all the right steps, right? And so you're going to go back. Maybe you need a better dance teacher. So you're going to go back and try and find a better dance teacher to kind of take you through and teach you. But no matter how good the dance teacher, if you're trying to do a waltz to a hip-hop song, it's not going to work out. The one other piece of that metaphor that I think is beautiful and to me speaks to the way that a lot of people first experience the principles when they come across them, and for me was part of the way that I first experienced Sid, is a quote from Nietzsche. Those who danced were thought insane by those who could not hear the music. Well, what we're doing here, what we have the opportunity to do as a field, is amplify the music. Well, neither? Yeah, oh, okay. The things I will do to get a metaphoric point across. I'm shameless, I will stop at nothing. But there's a real beautiful opportunity that we have every single time we sit down with another human being to talk about the principles. Are we listening to the music and letting the music express through us? Or are we trying to teach them dance steps that at some point made sense to us or we learned or made up along the way?